Lucy.
I'm Sammy Galley.
I'm David Keener.
And I'm Bill Zanotti.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Great.
Tonight, we're starting our new feature for season 2. We're going to be interviewing authors that we have encountered in the universe. And tonight we're starting with indie author William Zanotti. He's got a couple of books out there, so we're going to start talking to him about how the hell that happened. So to start us off, Bill, why don't you introduce yourself and give us the short bio about your own bad self.
I would love to, even though I hate talking about myself. I love you guys, so I will be happy to talk about myself. Thank you guys, first of all, for having me to come here. I feel like a minor celebrity here to be able to come and talk about me and my books. It's great. So I'm Bill Zanotti, and I'm relatively new to the author business. I do have 2 books out in print right now. The Link, Welcome to Humanity, and The Link, Farewell to Humanity. And I'm working on the 3rd and final book in the series, which will be a trilogy, which I can reveal the title, which is The Link, Return to Humanity. Like I said, I'm pretty new to the writing game, relatively new compared probably to you guys, who are, a little more established, I think, and fairly successful. I started writing about 4 years ago, like writing seriously 4 years ago, when I retired. I am retired from my nearly 3 decades long career in law enforcement. I retired as a special agent of Homeland Security investigations. And that was quite interesting. It was not writing, which is what I really wanted to do. I got my degree in English literature many moons ago, actually 1 moon ago, but it's gone around many times over the years. I went for almost 1 semester of graduate school of creative writing. Didn't quite make it to the end of that semester. I figured out, that I like to eat too much, and going to graduate school and writing the drivel I'm sure that I was writing wasn't gonna pay any bills, and I do so enjoy food, particularly pizza and such. So then
writer chow pizza.
Yeah, exactly. I even started drinking coffee, which I was never a coffee drinker, but now I guess you would have to call me a coffee drinker. And which, by the way, Marty, I hate reading your books because I always want a nice cup of coffee. Like, I can just taste the coffee in your books. It's always coffee, good coffee, not just coffee, but nice, clean, crisp, fine smelling, fine tasting coffee. So I do like to have a beverage, a hot beverage in the wintertime when I'm sitting down to write, and maybe a cold beverage after I'm done writing. But that's, I digress. So yes, that's basically me. I live in Virginia here, love it. I'm originally from New Jersey, Jersey City, by the way. I don't know if any of y'all, I've taken to saying y'all, which for Jersey City boys is like
Jersey City of you, yeah, exactly.
It's pretty crazy, right? People
What's
hear me
wrong
say
with
that.
y'all?
What's that?
My parents came. Well, my mother came from. My father came from the South, so
Yeah.
I was used to that.
Oh,
Y'all.
I love y'all. I think it's multi-purpose. It's highly efficient. I'm on team y'all, man. I love it. I'm happy to say it, proud to say it. And I wasn't born in Virginia, but I got here as fast as I can. I like to say, which was probably, I don't know, I was in my late 40s when I came here. But anyway, I love it. I love it here in Virginia. This is just a great place, and I met some great authors here. It's where I started my writing career in Virginia. So how could I not love it?
With that in mind, Bill, what first got you interested in having to do homework for the rest of your life? I mean, what is the first thing that made you interested in writing? I mean, how does that happen? I always wonder for people, what was the thing that sparked their initial interest?
of course, it's an excellent question for a writer. I hope I have a good answer. I actually, the first thing I ever wrote, I was probably 12 years old. I had just read The Lord of the Rings, and they were really, honestly, which I probably should be embarrassed, but I'm not really, to admit, was the first like books I read cover to cover, and that's at age 12. I think I probably should have read books by then, but I hadn't. You know, in school, whatever, I faked it, whatever I had to do. So I read The Lord of the Rings, and man, I was transported. That was some. I didn't like. I just fell in love with the written word. At that age, I really did, because, you know, I was just thrown into a satchel, put on the back of a horse, and ridden across Middle Earth. Man, I was with them the whole way, so I was just loving it. And so I started writing my own story set in Middle Earth. Didn't get very far, probably 2 pages, and I realized, wow, work. You know, I enjoyed like making the names. I created these names that sounded like, you know, Tolkien's names, and I thought I was just, you know, the coolest thing ever. But you know, after 2 pages on a typewriter, front and back, I was done. I was exhausted, and you know, I did go on to study English and stuff, and loved it. Developed a really appreciation for English English
I think
lit.
this is kind of interesting because both Bill and Marty are retired from their day jobs and have gone on to pursue writing as like the next chapter, pun intended, I guess, of their lives. So, I mean,
That's
this
good.
is a
That's good.
question for both of you guys. When you were like right before you retired, you could have done anything. You could have said, you know, I'm going to get a boat and travel across the Pacific, or I'm going to go golf every day, or I'm going to do whatever. Were you thinking, like, before you even turned in your 2 weeks notice or whatever, that, you know, I'm going to go write, I'm going to go be an author?
I was thinking that
You were?
because I already
Wow.
had on the day I retired, I had just published my 4th novel.
Huh.
And I had been enjoying writing
Mhm.
big time for years before that. So yeah, I knew I was going to, you know, drink coffee, make stuff up. That's awesome.
Yes, it is. How about you, Bill?
Well, so I may or may not have been using small, tiny amount of work time to scribble, you know, notes for a story.
Can neither confirm nor deny.
I can confirm nor deny without, you know, any. I have no independent recollection of that. If you have some evidence that might jar my memory, I'd be happy to take a look at that. But I have no independent recollection.
That's very much a law enforcement answer. I like that.
Yeah, sure.
It's also a
Well, I
government.
can answer that as a de facto no, because you know, I worked in a skiff, and if you so much as like transported a thumb drive in and out of a skiff, you were screwed. So no, I never had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of notebooks.
Marty. Nope, that's, I was just gonna say right here. I don't know if you could see
I had
it.
a lot of bullet lists sitting in boring meetings. Yeah.
Yes, the legal pad is your friend. That's all I can
Yes.
say.
Did you bring in any of your law enforcement background to your novelism?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's yes and no. Just a tiny bit, I would say. And a lot of people have actually asked, mostly family and friends, honestly, have asked me why I don't write, you know, about some of my experiences and you know, bring in some of that. And honestly, you know, the whole reason I write science fiction is because I wanted the escape. I don't want to deal with the cynicism anymore. And just I needed to get my mind away from. It's a very cynical world in law enforcement. Actually.
Yeah, I hear that. That's that was me too.
For sure.
So the first thing I wanted to do was just kind of, after I retired, was to kind of become myself again. You know, become that kid again, and write science fiction because I love, you know, I love science fiction. So.
Man, that's one for that quote's gonna go down in history right there, Bill. That you wanted to retire to become yourself again. Oh, if that is not a chilling metaphor for like, the work factory that we all get into.
Oh,
to keep
absolutely.
things cool.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie. What's it called? It's a Tom Hanks movie. Joe versus the Volcano.
That's
So
one of the.
at the beginning of Joe versus the Volcano, they're all trudging into this like dreary. It's all like in grayscale, and they're like stepping in puddles of mud, and everyone is just like somber and miserable, and they're going into the office, and Tom Hanks goes in, his character goes in, and he's sitting there, and he's got this like swaying, at least in my mind's eye, I don't know if this is the real scene, but there's like this fluorescent bulb, and it's just like kind of sucking the life out of him. So that's kind of the way I felt toward the end of my career. So I was ready to get away from that type of feeling.
I know that
Fair.
I'm in government contracting, and I get a certain amount of, let's just say I understand a lot more about who's the cartoon that's always talking about office stuff.
Dilbert. Yeah.
Dilbert, yeah, I understand
Yeah,
that.
it's totally
so
a
much.
Dilbert life.
Well, and I'm a college kid, so I get it entirely.
So,
that's
so Bill, I got next question. How did you decide that you wanted to go the indie author route as opposed to a traditionally published author route?
Well, if I'm being honest, which I got to stop saying that because I'll just be honest, right? I'll just always be honest.
Always be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Or not, we don't care. Just be interested.
Yeah. Well, that's also a good point. We can go off on a tangent there. I am not a natural storyteller, man. It's very hard for me to tell stories, which people think you're a writer, that you're a born storyteller. And I am not that way. But anyway, what was the question? I'm getting off topic.
How did you pick the indie author track
Oh yeah.
as opposed to a traditional author track?
Right. I think I don't think, I almost said it again, honest. I don't think I had much of a choice. I really, there's no way starting out as an author, I'm a pretty pragmatic guy, I like to think, realistic. There's no way that a publisher is going to pick me up. Even an agent, I don't even think I could get an agent interested in my stuff. That's not to say my stuff is terrible. I will say my work right now, and it's going to improve, but it's not terrible. And this is probably not a good advertisement for my books, which I hope we'll talk about a little bit.
Yeah, you're missing the whole point of this interview, dumbass.
My books are not terrible, y'all. They're not.
Damning himself with faint praise.
They're not terrible. They're just not very good.
I want you to know, we have episodes on marketing too.
Yeah.
I have watched some of your back episodes. I'm a fan. I appreciate them. I know Marty does his marketing Mondays and things like that.
A little bit. I couldn't resist.
So, but to answer your question, yeah, I consciously felt that there was no way this was ever going to happen. And I felt even if my work was really, really good, I still didn't think it was going to happen. I thought it was going to be just too difficult to get the attention that it would need to attract an agent or a publisher. I guess maybe I'll never know. I don't know. Maybe someday I will. But I never queried an agent. I never submitted something to a publishing house, which I don't know if there are any. I think maybe there's one left that takes unsolicited or unagented manuscripts. I don't even know if they do. I think it was maybe Random House, or I don't know. Like an
I think Bean does.
Anyway, so yeah, I made I guess maybe that was my first business decision. I didn't realize it at the time, but and boy, it's a lot of work.
I think in fairness, that's sort of why I became an indie writer too. I thought there were probably too many gatekeepers and too long a path to try to get published with traditional publishers. I think you ran into the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like this. I didn't. I kind of am going in that direction, but I didn't have this deep philosophical, objection to like the traditional publishing industry. I love it. Hey, I'll take a contract, please, thanks. Happy to have one. I just felt like I needed to do this if I was going to get my my work out there for anybody to see. And when you write, I guess you want people to read your stuff. So that's how I got into the business, and it is a business for sure of indie publishing.
Come a long way then already, because you've realized it is a business.
There you go.
I'm not really joking with you. It's a lot of people don't really,
Right.
go for the business underpinnings of what it takes to get your book out there, professionally produced.
Yeah, if you're an indie author, you gotta treat it like a job.
Bought, et cetera.
I could easily spend the majority of my day doing marketing and non-actual writing activity. I'm sure you guys know. I have to really check myself to say it, and it's hard for me to get into after like thinking about sales and keywords and advertising and targeting and blur. Oh, don't get me started on blurbs. Yeah, I know, Marty, you have this whole thing about blurbs and that you quote suck at them.
I know. I really do.
I'm in the same camp. I hate them. I have changed. Thank goodness it's relatively easy on KDP to change the details of your book without the content, like the actual manuscript, because I have changed my blurb so many times, in response to, I don't know, maybe I'm using that as the reason why my books aren't selling or whatever, but I'm constantly changing the darn thing because of lack of results.
So Bill, I think was it a couple of months ago that I tortured you with my beta read of a manuscript, and we swapped. And so
we did, and I wanted. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was curious. Overboard, you were calling it at the time. I don't know if it's still called that.
It still is Overboard as from now.
Okay, so you have the story. It's a fantasy story, Overboard. I really enjoyed it. Very unique. What's going on? I mean, are you still working on that? Is there any?
Yeah. So actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because the podcast, the beginning of the year, we all set goals, right, guys? So I'm going to bring them up. And we, at the halfway point, we give an update. At the end of the year, as Dave says, we have an excuse episode. But Overboard is one of my 2022, so this year, goals. I've had 3 writing goals this year, and I met my first one for the first quarter. And now for the next quarter, I'll be working on Overboard, putting that out indie published. So that's very exciting. I already have an illustrator for the cover and an editor who's going to copy edit it for me. But yeah, I hope to have that out either late this year or probably first quarter of next year.
That is awesome. And is this your first indie? I know you were traditionally published. I read one of yours. What was it called? This is not a love scene. Also enjoyed that. Totally.
I like this guy. Let's have him on more often.
No. Well, I it's not something I would read normally, but
That's fair.
Because knowing you, that's why I read it, and
for sure,
I enjoyed it, and I know that was traditionally published, and so
right. So that was traditional, and then I actually did have one other book that was indie published, the nonfiction book about my brother. And my brother, he passed away in 2017 of an opioid overdose. And so that book is his story and his journey, and we use all the money from that book to help other people get into treatment. It's a really awesome thing. But this would be my first, you could say Overboard would be my first fiction indie published work. So I'm excited about that. But this episode is not about me, and I was trying to ask you a question. But you're doing me a service, because I've been very curious about Overboard ever since I read it. I'm like, man, I got to keep track of this, because this is some good stuff, good fantasy stuff going on. Bless your heart.
It's so smooth. He's going far.
He's
just
trying.
What a suck up!
I tell you what, yeah, he wants another episode with us, and I think he's got it as far as I'm concerned.
No, you're probably gonna. I should shut up, because you're gonna think I'm a stalker. But I saw that you have another nonfiction book. It's Miracle, not Miracle.
The hockey book.
Hidden Miracles on. I'm a big hockey fan, and I saw
good.
You had a quote. There's a quote from Mike Eruzione, the captain of the Olympic team. I mean, the whole reason I became a hockey fan was the Miracle on Ice. When the U.S. beat the Russians, that was just like life-changing for me back when I was a kid, man. And I played hockey after that and loved
Yeah.
it. So I look forward to this
Yeah,
book
that was
because this is a really
amazing.
human interest story that
Yeah,
it really promises to be
for sure. Yeah,
powerful.
that book, that's Hockey's Hidden Gods, the untold story of the Paralympic Miracle on Ice.
Okay.
And yeah, Mike Rizioni gave a quote for that, and that's coming out December 2022, I believe. But anyway, back to you. Thank you so much for all the plugs. I was going to ask you about beta reads. Like, how was that experience for you? Because that can be very scary for new authors. Because you said you're new to this. How did you feel about like sending your book to me and having me? I think you might have sent it to Marty too. Having us look at it. Was that a good experience for you? A challenging one?
Well, by the way, thank you both. Having two experienced authors look at my, nobody writer's manuscript was really humbling. And I have a pretty thick skin, and I've developed over many years of negative interaction with other human beings. So I really appreciate and respect honest feedback more than anything else. And it's hard to get sometimes because people like you. I mean, I hope they like you or me. So they want to be nice and they want to sugarcoat it. Tell me what your reaction was, please. That's why, if you're going through the pain of reading this and it's hurting, please let me know. I don't want other people to, have that same reaction to.
I think a lot of new authors that's a big hurdle for them, being able to show their work to other people. And I think that's very awesome that you have that attitude. That means that like, you're serious about your craft and you want to go far with it. So that's very cool.
Yeah, no, thanks. I think it's probably a skill of the craft of writing to be able to accept honest feedback and to seek it out, to really sniff it out where you're going to get like some genuine stuff. Like if I could get some strangers to read my stuff, I would love that. I think that's where you're going to get a more honest, like no BS kind of.
One thing I found that works pretty well is if you ask people to do a beta, but you also give them a list of questions to answer at the end, because even if they're like trying to be friendly and oh yeah, it was really good, I really enjoyed it, but they really didn't. But if you start asking them questions like, well, did you like the protagonist? Did you believe in the plot line? Who was the best secondary character and stuff? And when you start asking questions like this, you get
and that's a tip. That's a tip that I've learned from you guys, to include those like kind of specific questions in there. It engages the reader and makes them feel like they didn't just read the thing for nothing anyway. It's like you're really going to consider their answers, and they're more likely to be honest, I think, when they're presented.
I think it's really important that you find beta readers that are honest. The worst kind of feedback in the world is, your mom patting you on the head. Oh, it's a great book, darling. Good job. Good job. I'm so proud of you. That is as useless as somebody that just says, I hate it. It sucks. You're the worst author ever. I mean, those are equivalent feedbacks as far as I'm concerned. You really want somebody that will get down in the weeds with you and talk about what can improve your story. And I have found that with the right beta readers, it definitely improves your stories big time.
Yeah, and aside from beta readers, just like critique, I've belonged to critique groups now for a few years, and I think they're invaluable if you have the right ones. I know some can be less valuable than others, I suppose, depending on how they're run. But for any new authors out there, having people read your stuff is a privilege, I think, and especially if they're going to be straight with you. Because I have learned so much, not even from submitting my own stuff to have read, but just when I look at like really smart experienced authors giving honest feedback to others, I see, wow, that totally applies to me in so many different situations. So I have been very fortunate to be part of a couple of really supportive and productive critique groups. So that's one of my tools in my arsenal.
Yeah, you think critique groups and beta readers can be tough. Just wait till you start getting reviews. Then it's an eye opener.
Oh, sorry.
Just make a mistake when it comes to gun horses. See what happens.
Yeah, I have 2 books out available on Amazon, and so I'm spoiled so far. It must be only like family and friends giving reviews, because most of the reviews so far, and there's not that many, by the way. That's probably a whole nother episode for your podcast, is how to how to get reviews. So I've got maybe 10 or 12, I think, for my first book, and they're all pretty good. So I keep waiting for to my mind, when the real ones come, that are going to be like the 1 stars and the 2 stars and the 3 stars. So I wait those. I crave those, because I want to see, I need that reality check, but I haven't gotten it yet. So right now I'm still riding high on my itsy bitsy teeny weeny little couple of really positive reviews.
I think it's safe for me to unmute, but I'm taking a risk. I'm not sure. The dog might bark again.
Well, we'll fix your problem with reviews, because our entire audience for this podcast is going to go to your book and give you a review one way or another. And that ought to give you 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, so bring it.
Fun.
Bring it. I have this theory, and I don't know. I may have made this up out of thin air, but that any review is a good review. I don't know how the almighty Amazon algorithm treats these things, but I think the more people that are, and this is a big buzzword in our business, engaging, how many readers are engaging with the book. It doesn't matter how many stars are there, just that, and I'm probably wrong. So all you new writers out there, don't listen to me. Listen to Marty.
We need to make that a topic for an entire show, you guys. How to get reviews.
Mhm.
That could be a complete topic for a half-hour show, big time.
Well, having had the pleasure of having read your manuscript, Bill, I'm wondering, your plot is so complex. Where do you get your plot ideas from, and how do you work through a complex plot?
Yeah, for me, it took 2 years, which it probably shouldn't take that long. My first book, The Link, Welcome to Humanity, it took me two full years to write. And you would think it would be better for those 2 years. It is complicated, and I'm not sure I tied up all the loose ends, but just a lot of thought. And so let me just back up a sec. The whole reason I started the book, it's based on one idea. I wanted to explore one idea, and it's hard to write a book just about an idea. You have to personalize it. You have to make it about character. And so my book ultimately changed from what it started out as. It started out as, I thought to myself, well, I'll go back even further. So where I used to work, there was a guy who was into ham radio, amateur radio. And he would talk about, bouncing these waves, off of the atmosphere to stratosphere. I didn't even know. And going to the other side of the world, I'm like, yeah, man, there's all these waves. And if you think about all the wireless technology we have now, or cell phones, so there's all these waves out there. And I thought to myself, well, what if we could actually see these waves, right? What if you actually could see all the cell phone waves, the electromagnetic waves going from your cell phone to the tower, and just coming from space. We're getting zapped as we sit here right now. We're getting blasted with all these waves, right? And we just can't see them because of the visible spectrum and all that. And so that just sent me off on research, reading up on electromagnetism, and then I wound up on superpositioning, you know, and all this like really complex topics. And it's like, how do I write a story about waves or like even living in the waves? I mean, that's ultimately what I settled on. So, you know, the story is about a guy who's a human from outer space, right? Who lives in the waves essentially. And because I had to humanize the thing, I had to make it relatable. I couldn't just talk dryly about, you know, electromagnetic waves and, oh gee, wouldn't it be great if we could see them? So I needed to, like, you know, try to help people experience what that might be like and try to visualize that. And I still haven't gotten there. I'm 2 books deep and I still really haven't gotten to what I feel is a description of what I had in mind when I started, as far as what would happen if we could see the waves. But it's coming. It's coming in book 3.
So,
I
Bill,
love
do you
that,
consider yourself a plotter or a pantser when you write? Are you organized up front? Do you outline heavily, or do you just wing it?
So, as I said at the beginning, when we first started here, like 10 hours ago, it feels like, because I've never talked this much about myself in a very long time, that I started writing when I retired, like 4 years ago. And the first thing I did was I took a class at like a community college, even though I had a background in English literature and some graduate school. I wanted to do that. I took like a basic creative writing class, and it was great. We talked about show versus tell, which was a big reminder for me, which I had kind of forgotten about and all that. And so I took that class and off I went, and I just started writing, and I really had no idea what the heck I was doing, man. I just started writing, and I would write like just scenes in my head, like, oh, you know, I'm feeling happy today, so I'm going to write like a happy scene. And then, you know, a few days later, like I listened to a song on the radio, maybe it was melancholy or whatever. I'm going to kind of write a melancholy scene. And then in my head, I was like, yeah, I'll just string them together later and it'll make sense. It'll all make sense later. And it never made sense. It was just a series of scenes that didn't make sense. So to answer your question, yeah, big pantser. Wish I was not. I wish I was more of a plotter than a pantser. Book 2, The Link, Farewell to Humanity. I did more. In my mind, I plotted, which was basically I got like a piece of paper and I wrote out like generally where the story was going to go, and that was my outline, like 1 page, like a you know, legal pad. So I'm baby steps.
Yeah, it's just like the beats of the story. That still counts.
Yeah. And but it's like I'm full mental now about it. Like I want to plot, but I can't. I don't object to it. I really want to do it. I find the value in it because it gives structure, and I could really, it doesn't hinder you. If you can have a nice outline, it can really just kind of guide you to like you know, like a runway off into space. Is the outline. But
I really like what you said earlier about plotting with a question in mind. Like, what if, you know, what if we could see these wavelengths?
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah.
And it sort of sounds like even if you lean more as a pantser, you at least have this ultimately driving question that you need to discover. You need to find the, or what do they call it? Like, you know, the spool of thread, completely unspool it until you get to the answer that you're looking for. And so I think that's, you know, it may not be like a total whiteboard like Marty has on his board, on his wall.
And it's a big whiteboard. Yeah.
It is a big whiteboard, but
Yeah.
Your question is, it does provide you some parameters through which you explore the answer.
Yeah, it's the guiding principle for the stories. And by the way, so book 2, I wrote the last scene first, and I found that to be very helpful. Not only did I have like a general outline, but now I had the destination. I had what I consider was a pretty good scene, a pretty good final scene, and everything in that book was the road to that scene, which is great because you have a destination now. Whereas before, I was just like hey, just randomly, going to a Starbucks with my laptop and writing like whatever came into my head. That's no way to write a book, man.
No,
That
no,
is really no
there are
way
some,
to write a book. It's
there
good.
are some people that write like that, they write their book out of order and then they assemble all the pieces. I'm not one of them. I tend to write my scenes in order. But I also tend to, plot the story and plot the scenes, but pants the writing of the scenes. So, there's some happy mediums too.
Yeah, I should qualify that with saying it's no way to write a book for me. Obviously, anybody can be
Whatever
successful
works.
doing whatever works. Exactly. But yeah, pantsing versus plotting. I wish someday I will be a plotter. I'm confident. After much therapy and counseling, I think I will become a plotter. It's all mental. It's very mental for me to not be a plotter. It's like, I don't know, why can't I do it? I sit down and do it. I just can't. It doesn't feel right. I don't like it. I just want to dig in because I get lost in my writing. I look up and like 2-3 hours will be gone when I'm like really writing. And I love that. I'm like, I'm gone. I'm not here. I'm really out there somewhere.
So what other parts of your writing don't feel right? Like, what's the worst piece of writing advice you ever got?
I've gotten a lot of good advice, probably too much good advice. I guess I would say to write every day was one thing that was suggested to me. Now
and you consider that bad advice?
I do. For me personally, I think for a lot of people, writing every day is probably a good thing because you get in the habit, and some of your best writing, even for me, I have done some great writing when I've not been in the mood to do it. And I've forced myself to get down there and do it. But I burn out real quick. I do. I try to write with emotion because I feel like, maybe it's cliche, but I feel like without passion in the writer, there's not going to be any passion in the book. So I tend to be quite tired, after I've written. And like mental energy is a real thing, guys. It really is. There's no, you sit down and you're doing this work. This is work and it's exhausting. So I cannot write every day. And
I agree. Not so much with writing every day, but I agree that it's hard work. I actually envy you retired guys because I find that I can do my best work like in the morning, but I have a day job, and so the morning is taken. So I envy you guys being retired and having that capability.
So the opposite side of that coin is, what piece of writing advice do you love so much they're going to have to pry it from your cold, dead hands?
Well, I don't say so much. I guess when you say advice, you mean like from any source, like because I've read probably way too much on like how to write, and listened to too many podcasts on how to write. So it's a problem. I mean, I've spent way too much time doing this. So I don't remember the book. Might have been James Scott Bell. Is that a person? The book is called, I think, Plotting and Structure. And in it's very simple. There's 3 elements to any chapter. It has to have a hook in the beginning, it has to have intensity, and it has to have a prompt to the next chapter. That's it. I do well with very simple guidelines like that. And I'll keep that in mind while I'm writing a chapter. Now, listen to me, I'm talking like I'm a successful writer. This is what I want to do. I want to be able to produce chapters. And every chapter has to really be good. You can't have just like, filler chapters. I feel like that happens quite a bit. And I'm talking about myself when I say quite a bit.
You ever hear Elmore Leonard's rule? Elmore Leonard is a famous crime and mystery writer. And he used to say he tries to write really lean and leave out all the parts that people would skim over.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I like that. But I do love, and part of the reason I write is because I do like a good turn of phrase, man. Sometimes it's not called for, but I do enjoy it. That's one of the pleasures of writing is coming up with like really how to capture something. It's an art, man. We're artists. All you guys sitting out there, we're artists. Well, you might not think so sometimes, but we're poets and artists. Anyway.
So as a poet and an artist, whenever you complete a project, is there anything you like to do to celebrate? I mean,
Yeah,
like
you know
me, I like to, pour a top shelf bourbon and go out on my deck and have a cigar. I do that at the end of, as soon as I publish, any project. That's my celebration. It's the carrot that's at the end of the very long stick on a novel project. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'm a firm believer in rewards. I think so. And I wrote about this. I stole this question for my last newsletter. So on completion of a novel only, because it's probably very unhealthy. I love a nice sausage and pepper sandwich, right? And there's a place around me that makes a really good one. And so, I'm not as young as I used to be. So, a brother's got to worry about his cholesterol and this type of thing. So once the book is complete, I promised myself that there is a delicious sausage and pepper sandwich. Like the bourbon and cigar thing. All right, I might be with you on the bourbon. The cigar thing, I'd probably vomit. So being a lightweight, so I couldn't do the cigar. But I would definitely share, an adult beverage with you, Marty, after completing a novel. But the sausage and pepper that's my jam.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of what people do to spike that ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
So where is that? Now I'm hungry, damn it.
Oh, for the restaurant?
Yeah, where do you get the
so it's a little hole in the wall restaurant in Burke, Virginia. It's called Villa Bella. And
hey, make sure you send me the website because we'll put it in the comments.
There you go.
I will. It's very good.
Along with your book, we'll also put Bill's book in the comments, I hope.
We'll put all of his social media links, everything in the comments, so that people want to stalk Bill, they can do it more easily.
I'm sure they will.
But that's an excellent question about kind of rewarding yourself and taking a step back to kind of enjoy having completed a project, because the more I do this, the more I see, wow, it's just so easy. Like now I have to write another one. Now I have to market it. You got to take a step back and enjoy the completion, the process.
Yeah, that's what we always say about having homework for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I love that quote.
Yes, it's a great quote, and we all live by it. We all do our homework.
Yeah.
Don't be a science fiction writer unless you like doing research.
I'm 53 and I still am just tickled to death that I don't have to get up and go to school in the morning. So the whole concept of homework is
hey, come on, you're talking to someone who's still deep in the thick of it. Don't make it worse than it already is.
Just make us feel old.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
you can just shut right up there, youngin.
Where's the mini violin? Someone get us some mini violin.
Hey, and the three geezers.
Yeah. Age is just a number, man. It really is.
Yeah, try to tell that to my aching back.
Yeah, there are physical limitations for sure. With writing, you can only sit in front of a screen so long.
Oh, I can, but
yeah.
Nobody laughed, really.
I got it.
Yeah.
So one thing that really surprised me, Bill, when I started publishing books, is to find out how few of my friends and family actually read books. Do you have were you surprised by friends and family of yours that never read books?
I know how
yours.
I know. Well, my wife is an avid reader. She is like voracious. She just doesn't read like science fiction. She reads like, I don't know, like mysteries, and she used to read romance, but so she gets a pass. But I know how little my family reads, especially like my brothers. I have two older brothers, and I still have some black and blues on my shoulders from when I was little to prove it. But yeah, they're not readers, but they've read my book, which really kind of made me feel good, because I know it was a chore for them. Like my one brother probably hasn't read a book in I don't know, 20, 30 years. This is no joke. That's not a criticism. He doesn't read books. He'll read newspapers and other stuff, but just not a reader. But
It's
they did
hard
read
for me
my
to
stuff.
I'm 5 to 8 books a month, despite having a day job and being a writer.
Yep.
That's impressive. Writing does cut into your reading time. That sucks.
So, Bill, as
Okay.
we're winding this up, what's your next project? What are you working on now? Plug your next project.
I will have to plug, book 3 of my trilogy, the Link trilogy, Return to Humanity. I can't give a date because that's way too much stress and pressure on myself, which is also another reason I can't do traditional publishing, because deadlines will, I still have a lot of hair and I'd like to keep it. If I had deadlines like that, some people thrive on them. I am not one of those people. I am somebody who will not sleep at night. I will, I'll be a wreck, a nervous wreck with all those deadlines. I'll do it. I'll make the deadline, but I will not.
You won't like it.
Yeah. No, I will not like it at all. So there's that. But then, so here's the thing, guys. After I finish book 3, I'm contemplating hard changing genres. Some people say that's probably not a great idea, because if you're building up a readership, frankly, I don't think I have enough readers where it matters. Sorry, guys, and if I do have any fans out there, Mom, if you're watching, I think I can't use you as the the litmus test. I'm feeling like the need to move maybe to another genre. I'm thinking maybe I might go into, I feel like I'm far enough removed, I might get into some type of crime drama or something like that. Let's see how that works out. But for now, I have to stay focused on book 3. That's what's coming, and hopefully it'll be epic, and I'll try not to give away too much about it here, but it's coming.
I hear there's an anthologist working on an anthology in the future called Future Crime, so you could combine science fiction and mystery science.
Well, we'll have to talk about that offline, but yeah, that sounds like it could be very interesting indeed, especially the shorter story side of things. Short stories are a little bit more digestible.
Well, Bill, thanks for taking the time. We enjoyed having you. It was a lot of fun today, and I don't know how long this episode's going to be. I think it's pretty good show.
Yeah, Bill, feel free to edit. I
don't do that.
Guys.
I put them up just as they are. Right. I think I've only edited maybe one episode for reasons, but
what you see is what you get.
Yeah, so that's it, man. You just go raw. We don't care if you slip in a few F-bombs. We don't cut into your freedom of speech.
Right on, man. Right on. I like your style. So, but anyway, thank you guys for having me. This was like a pleasure for me just to be here talking to you guys. I almost feel like a real writer now. So
hey,
you are a writer.
It's going to get harder and harder to tell you to try to think that you're not a writer. That imposter syndrome disappears eventually. Trust me. It took me 5 books, but trust me, it'll disappear.
Right on. All right, guys.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk to you later. Thanks again.